Hello guys, and welcome to, I guess a later episode than last week of, later in the week, I guess you should say, as, college football rankings. So this week, some upsets happened, some things get shook up, and we have the new rankings. I already looked at them earlier, so there won't be any surprises, because they weren't up this morning secretly I'm recording this Monday, but that'll be out on Wednesday, so. Anyway, let's go straight into it. North Carolina, after their loss at Virginia Tech, has moved to the 28th position. And I'm using based on how many votes they got in the top 25 to determine this. 29th, our first team off the list was LSU. No shock. They didn't play this week, so only no room for advancement or declinement. If they were 28th last week, so yeah. Next one we have Arizona State. Don't remember what happened to them last week. They weren't ranked last week, though, weren't they? No, they weren't. They're in the same. They're probably right under my list, so. Anyway, next one, we have Georgia. I want to say they were ranked. No, they weren't. Okay, so they're joining. So those are so far we've seen new teams, and I believe we'll see new teams unless. Never mind. Next one. We have Navy after their great win against Houston, coming in the 25th spot. Yeah, that was a really good win and one that really knocked Houston out, and it could knock Houston out of a New Year's Six bowl depending on what happens with Boise State, because as we'll see later, they're pretty close. Next one we have Western Michigan. They're a good team, and they're undefeated. And they're in the MAC, but you usually have one MAC team that's pretty good. And that's them this year. Usually a team that's right up there. Next we have, kitty cat blocking it. Next we have Auburn. Seems like, they're finally in. They're ranked 23rd. I'm not shocked about that. Auburn's a pretty good team. They're 4-2. They've lost some pretty close. I think their only losses are what? I know Clemson. I forget the other one. I don't know. But yeah. Next we have Arkansas. Only losses come against Texas A&M and Alabama, so not a bad, pretty good team. Next we have Utah. Their only loss, I forget who that was against. Anyway, West Virginia undefeated, 4-0. One of the Big 12's last chances at a playoff spot. Next is Oklahoma, which I don't understand how they're ahead of, but I guess, West Virginia still has to play a few games. Oh, that's right, because they don't play a conference championship game. I was wondering why they're sitting at 4-0 after going into week 7. I remembered. Next, okay, so we already said Oklahoma. Florida didn't play a game last week, but they still moved up a spot. So, that's good for them. Next, Virginia Tech. They definitely played a game last week. They played a game in which I don't know if the other team forgot to show up or something like that. They beat North Carolina 34-3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't have any notes, but I can remember things pretty well. Next, we have Miami after their loss to Florida State. Florida State made a jump. Oh, I guess they're 14. Miami, after missing an extra point, or getting an extra point blocked, they end up dropping the 6 spots, so. Yeah, it's not a bad loss, Florida State. Next, and this is where things start getting funny, or getting weird, or getting intense, I guess you could call it. Boise State's sitting at 15, undefeated. People thought at the beginning of the year this could be the year we see a non-Power 5 get in to the playoff as Boise State team. Probably not, but always good to maybe have that hope if you're a fan of the underdog teams. But yeah, Boise State could get in the Air 6 though, because they're only 2 spots away from Houston, and Houston may not. Well, Houston will have to play Navy again. Plus, they'll have to play Louisville again, so that could be the ultimate factor in that. Next, we have Florida State, who is advanced up 9 spots after their impressive win against the U. I didn't think that game would be very close, and I was wrong. So yeah, there's that. Next, we have Houston, ranked and the number 13 spot. For some reason, this book it ranks them all weird. But it has project planning notes. Flip the page, it's 1 through 28. But The other ones are 56, so having to use some math here. Okay, I'm looking at what it says on ESPN. Yeah, so Houston, they moved down 7 spots after their loss to Navy. So, which, I mean, Navy's not the worst loss in the world, but one that's going to knock you out. For sure, I think their playoff chances have hit the rock bottom. Next, we have Ole Miss, who for some reason is 12th. But, you know, when your losses are Florida State and Alabama, which I don't understand how they're ahead of Florida State, but I guess they have one less loss. So, here's that. Or one less win. Yeah, that actually makes no sense. Florida State has one more win. But, you know, anyway. Well, I guess it's because the other loss that they have possessed is against Alabama. Anyway, moving on. Baylor is at the number 11 spot. I believe they moved up 2 spaces. Yep, 2 spaces from last week. Did they even play? I don't think they even played. Correct me. I mean, I'll correct myself here if I'm wrong. Yeah, they didn't even play. The best thing to do every week. Sometimes when you're undefeated, that's the best thing to do, not play. You don't run into other teams. Next is Nebraska. They're the Cornhuskers, one of 4 Big Ten teams to be ranked for the first time since 1960, I believe I read. I think that was what it was. Yeah, 1960 is the first time that the Big Ten has 4 teams in the top 10. So that's kind of cool. Next is Tennessee. I see the voters really did not penalize them for that loss against Texas A&M, which, I mean, going to Kyle Field and having to play a top 10 team on the road and playing them to double overtime and losing, you really shouldn't be penalized for that. And I like how they didn't really penalize Tennessee. And I think they stay in a good position where if they can win out and win the SEC championship, I think they can get into the playoff. So that's good for Tennessee. That's probably the best case scenario. Next is Wisconsin. They're still sitting pretty at 8th. Their schedule is what's keeping them up there, and it'll continue because if they can win out, I think if they can win even to the Big Ten championship game, it'll create a good debate. The 4-2 loss Wisconsin team that has wins against Ohio State, Michigan State, which Michigan State was not that big a deal anymore, I found out, but still they were ranked top 10 at the time. LSU, same thing. They'll have 2 top 10 wins against Nebraska and Ohio State, even if those 2 teams stay undefeated the way they are. But yeah. So that'll be pretty tough to look at that and say who do we knock out other than Wisconsin, which it could be a Michigan thing, but we're not going to go there right now. We're going to talk about that when we get to Michigan. Next we have Louisville, who is still in the hunt. They're probably going to have Clemson lose a few games though to get in, because I think the ACC will only qualify 1 team into it. So, and I think that'll be either Louisville or Clemson, and one of those 2 teams, probably whoever gets the ACC championship between the 2. I don't know why the lighting's going off. There we go. Now the lighting's returning. Anyway, next we have Texas A&M. They're sitting at the number 34 spot, or 34 spot. That was gonna happen. 6th spot. Sorry. They only have 1. Yeah, they're undefeated after getting a very good, impressive win at home against Tennessee. I think that's a win that's gonna jump them, and But again, in the end of things, they are undefeated, and if they went out, they're in. I mean, if they beat Alabama in the SEC championship game, or beat Alabama and then won the SEC, they're in. So they control their own destiny. One of the few teams that does, actually, kind of. Next, we have Washington, who, again, in my opinion, I think one of the Big Ten teams will get knocked out, who are currently in the top 4, and they'll slide in if they can stay undefeated. If they lose, then it's a free-for-all. This whole thing is a free-for-all, honestly. I could see any of these top 10 teams, top 11, getting in very easily. Maybe even add West Virginia to that statement. But if all 11 of them go undefeated, it's going to be, other than the games they play against each other, it will be a free-for-all. That's for sure. Next, we have Michigan. They got actually a first-place vote. Well, I mean, when you kind of go and beat up Rutgers 78-0. And I'm pretty sure that was at Rutgers. You went to somebody else's house and beat them by 78 points. That's an impressive win. I don't care who you're playing. And especially another Big Ten team. That's pretty good. They went up Ohio State on that one. Next one is Clemson. They got 2 first-place votes. Yeah, not much to say about this Clemson team. They're pretty good. I mean, there's really no reason that, there's really nothing you can say is really other than, the first few games of the season they kind of had some issues, but other than that, they've played up to where they needed to be any other time. Next, we got Ohio State, enough said, no. JT Barrett's having, Heisman-like year, I'll put it that way, and they're just rolling. And didn't they play Austin? I don't think they had they played IU and played them and beat them. IU's a team that can always give you trouble on, and it's pretty impressive they beat them 38-17. So they're a good team. And then next we have number 1, and I don't think anybody will dispute this other than the 5 voters that did, but I don't get why they not 56 first place votes. Alabama. So there's really nothing to say other than that. Alabama's number 1, and until somebody beats them, they get to stay there. Sorry, but when you win as many national championships as they have lately, it's kind of one of those things that you have to beat them to actually get them down. So they really don't go down any other way. But yeah, other than that, I'm just looking at the coaches poll real quick. The top 10 is a little different than the coaches poll. Instead, you have Wisconsin, Nebraska, Baylor, who gets knocked out. Tennessee moves down to 11. Coaches poll really doesn't matter, though. It's the AP one that matters. Because I believe that's the one that the College Football Playoff Committee uses a little more. When did those rankings come out? I forget when. I think the beginning of November. So we'll have some good weeks of that. And that's what the rankings will switch to once those start coming out. I'm just doing the AP right now because that's the rankings that I feel as if end up making the most of. They're the ones that matter the most. They're early on in the season, and my camera. There we go. Sorry about that. But yeah. Anyway, this has been college football rankings for going into week 7, and I'll see you next week.